Good morning, vinyl community. Bradley here. Shelly Manne and his men in the background, which I will get to shortly. Just have a few albums I'd like to share with you this morning. The first one, Art Blakey's Jazz Messengers. I've been on Art Blakey's kick lately. A Night in Tunisia. If you see a fly flying around, could you swat at it? It's driving me nuts. This particular album was released in 1957 on the VIK label, which was a subsidiary of RCA Victor, called VIK. That only lasted for like 5 years, then they discontinued that label. So anyhow, I went on Amazon and bought this, and I always remember seeing like two different covers to what I thought was this album. Both of them were called A Night in Tunisia by the Jazz Messengers. Well, there's two albums. This particular one, in the description, it said it was produced by Sony in Canada. So I thought, sounds good to me. Well, I get it, and it's a music on vinyl reissue. Sounds super, very good. Well, the confusion starts with, this was recorded, like I said, in '57 on Vic Records. Well, in 1960, the Jazz Messengers also recorded an album called A Night in Tunisia for Blue Note Records. Two completely different albums. So, I was not aware. I was always confused by the two album covers. But this album, well, I'll tell you who's on it. You have Art Blakey on drums, Sam Dockery on piano, Johnny Griffin on tenor sax, Ferris, it says on the cover, it says Ferris Benda, then on the back it says Ferris Bender on alto, Bill Hardman trumpet, Jimmy DeBrest on bass. Well, that Ferris Benda, or Bender, is actually Jackie McLean. For some reason, probably contractual, he was not probably allowed to have his name on this album, so he went under that alias. And I think this was the only recorded thing that Johnny Griffin and him played together on. So, like I said, this is a beautiful sounding record. A Night in Tunisia is well worth the cost of the album alone, although it's a fantastic album. Dizzy Gillespie. Johnny Griffin wrote a song, Bill Hardman wrote a song, Art Blakey and Jackie McLean co-wrote a song, and they have a Sonny Rollins tune on here. And when I bought this off of Amazon, sometimes they give you a download, digital download. So I did download that. And this morning, I was looking at that. Well, they gave me the download to the Blue Note, Night in Tunisia. So confusing, so confusing. So I guess actually I have both albums. Hey, that's great. Sounds good to me. But anyhow, if you are into Art Blakey, He never made a bad album, and this is one of it's way up there. It's well worth the cost, and it did not cost that much. It's like, I don't know, low 20s, 21 or something like that. Okay. Oh, did I mention this is my second try because the wind was blowing outside into the microphone. So, anyhow, second album, Freddie Hubbard, Open Sesame. Now, this is one of Blue Note's recent 80th anniversary reissues, as opposed to the 75th, like 5 years ago. These 80th are, to be frank, they're better pressings. They'd be the 75th, you know. I would much rather have these. But in the 80th anniversary, they kind of have subcategories, and one of the subcategories is called Blue Note Debuts. So this would be Freddie's debut album under his own name on Blue Note. And at this time, he was still playing with the Jazz Messengers, because this was, let me get my notes out here. This was recorded in, when was it? 1960. And Freddie is probably my favorite trumpet player in jazz, so I like his stuff. People on this record are Freddie Hubbard on trumpet, Tina Brooks on tenor sax, who sounds amazing, McCoy Tyner piano, Sam Jones bass, and Clifford Jarvis on drums. Like I said, that's his first album on Blue Note under his own name. Sounds fantastic, you know. You could kind of tell that he was going to become quite the musician. And on here, they've got like 6 songs. Freddie wrote 1, and Tina Brooks wrote 2, and the rest are standards. So, if you like Freddie Hubbard or are interested in him, it'd be a great album. Okay, last album. Like I said, that's what's on the background right now. It is called Shelly Manne and His Men Play Peter Gunn. There is Shelly Manne. He was in one of the episodes of Peter Mann. He was playing drums for a couple minutes. Sounds great. A little background on Peter Gunn. It was on for 3 seasons, late 50s, early 60s. It starred Craig Stevens, who was kind of based on his character was based on Cary Grant, I suppose. Kind of like a suave detective. And Peter Gunn, he hung out at a local jazz club called Mother's. And that was kind of his office. He dated the female jazz singer. So all through all these episodes, it was very heavily cool jazz themed in the background, and a lot of times they would have a whatever quote live band playing in the background in these episodes. So this album was recorded in well, in Los Angeles in January of 1959. So the series started in September of 58 was the first year. And this has 12 songs, and a lot of these songs, if you watch the Peter Gunn series, which is on Amazon Prime, they have all the complete 3 years of episodes. They're like half hour, so they're kind of quick to watch. But actually, they play almost all these songs in, not the whole songs, but parts of the songs in all these episodes. But, and here we go again, it's a little confusing. Like I said, this was recorded in January of 59. Well, Henry Mancini wrote the theme song to Peter Gunn, which, if you don't know that, check it out. You should know it. You've heard it before. And he put out an album, I think it was called Music from Peter Gunn by Henry Mancini. And all these songs on here were written by Henry Mancini. So on the original Henry Mancini songs from Peter Gunn, it was more of a big band. Probably had, I don't know, 14 or 15 musicians. Kind of like complete horn section and all that. But a lot of these musicians on here also played on Henry's album. So they're kind of redoing a lot of Henry's songs with just a 6-piece group. Sounds excellent. And it was originally on Contemporary Records. This particular, it's a Wax Time reissue on Wax Time. Sounds excellent. Sounds super. Nice and clean. So the musicians on this particular album are Conte Candoli on trumpet, Herb Geller, alto sax, Victor Feldman, who is fantastic, vibes and marimba, Russ Freeman on piano, Monty Budwig on bass, and Shelly Manne on drums. So, super music, nothing groundbreaking or anything, but just really cool jazz. And actually, Shelly Manne and his men would make another album later in the year, and they would call that Son of Gunn. Shelly Manne and his men play more music from Peter Gunn. And also Henry Mancini would put out another album, kind of like more music from Peter Gunn. So, Peter Gunn. I've been watching that lately. So, very enjoyable. Lots of, it would usually open up with a murder, and then usually at least 2 or 3 more people would be murdered in the 30-minute episode. So, no blood though. So, Peter Gunn. And this was a, whatever, direct-to-metal mastering. Great sound quality. So, if you're into, whatever, crime jazz, or old detective series, very enjoyable. Great music. So, that pretty much wraps it up. I really wanted to make that video outside, but it was way too noisy. So, I hope everybody has a great weekend, what's left of it. So, till next time, I will catch you. See ya.